Assalamu alaikum warahmatullah. On behalf of Dawanet, I would like to welcome you all to the first of the 3 sessions of the Zakat Fiqh series with today's topic, Zakat on Investments. My name is Lama and I am your host today. For those of you who haven't heard of Dawanet before, Dawanet is a grassroots organization dedicated to inspiring Canadian Muslims to live faith, share heritage, and serve communities. Founded in 2000, Dawanet has focused on initiatives that aid charity, organizations, and bridge building. By creating community-oriented projects, lots of Canadian Muslims have been able to benefit from these initiatives. One of the primary initiatives that Dawanet has started is Canada Zakat. The Canada Zakat distribution community rigorously examines Zakat applications using criteria and procedures reviewed and approved by Islamic scholars. In 2016, Canada Zakat team has also launched Halal Serve, a food bank and delivery service to address the culturally compatible nutritional requirements of low-income newcomers in the Mississauga area. It offers free food delivery to clients with limited mobility. So for the month of Ramadan, Dawanet and Canada Zakat will be hosting a few events and workshops on the importance of Zakat. These events will be brought to you by the Celebrate Ramadan Canada program. This Ramadan, connect with thousands of fellows from across the country in celebrating the month of blessings in a unique, united, and spiritually uplifting virtual programming experience with the Celebrate Ramadan Canada program. The unique month-long online event featuring both live and pre-recorded sessions will utilize Dawanet City Muslim platform to help local massages or organizations to easily share the unique Ramadan message with tens of thousands families from coast to coast. If you are interested in volunteering, donating, or helping out, please visit canadamuslims.ca. This evening, we are very excited for our very first Zakat session with Imam Aarij Anwer. He serves as the interim Imam and Islamic Education Coordinator at the London Mosque. His voice is on the Youth Education and Chaplaincy. He holds a Bachelor of Computer Science from Waterloo, Bachelor's of Education from Toronto, and Bachelor's of Islamic Sciences in Fiqh and Usul al-Fiqh from Al-Madinah International University, Malaysia. He studied the Sharia under the tutelage of his teachers from Egypt for a decade and continues every week. Previously, he founded Qutuf Academy for Advanced Arabic Studies, published an Arabic curriculum for Islamic schools at Bayina Institute, and published a book on the Prophet ﷺ supplications. He is a Zakat advisor for the National Zakat Foundation, as well as the instructor for Al Kauthar Institute. He lives in London with his wife and 4 daughters. Without further ado, I'll hand it over to Imam Aarij.
Okay, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Let's get started. I'm going to share my screen with you all in a bit. We're going to talk today about fiqh of zakat for investments. And we will also just do any FAQs that people might have, inshallah. We were having, I think our original plan was to do 2 sessions. One on zakat, or one on, our plan initially was to do 3 sessions, one on basic zakat, one on investments, and one FAQs. Since we are, we're not, we don't have that many people attending, unfortunately. So what we'll do is we will do both the investment and the FAQ all together in this session, inshallah, and that should be, I think, inshallah, sufficient. Sister Lama, you're here. Luma, sorry, you're here with me. Sorry for mispronouncing your name.
Yes.
Okay, great. So what I'd like you to do is just gather all the questions that people have from Facebook and whatnot, and put them all under the QA, and we will go through that, inshallah. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Let me share my screen with you all, inshallah. If you're on Facebook, you can also try to join in like our on the Zoom call here. It's kind of lonely. But it'll be good if you join us here on the Zoom call if you are able to. That way we can interact more. I don't know who's on Facebook. I don't know if they're watching or asking questions. But if you're on the webinar here, you can ask questions. It'll be nice to do that, inshallah. Okay. Okay, so let me share my screen and then we'll get cracking. Okay, I cannot share screen. Sister Luma, you have to let me give me permission to share my screen. Sister Luma, are you there? Please let me share my screen.
Yes, I am. One second. Can you see it? Can you share?
All right. Yes. So all right. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah. Wassalatu wassalamu ala Rasulillah. Waba'd. Let us get started about fiqh of zakat on investments in particular. Okay. Now, investments, as we're going to talk about them today, are what we're referring to are Canadian investments, like Canadian investment accounts. These are accounts that we find available to us in Canada. And if you are watching from a different country, or if you have accounts in different countries, there's going to be a little bit of difference between the two. Okay. Before we get there, let us first talk about what is zakatable wealth. What is wealth that you have to pay zakat on? Okay, this is very important. I prepared this as a outline for another workshop, but we can benefit from that anyway. Zakatable is a word I'll use to talk about wealth that you have to pay zakat on. Okay, it's a word that it's coined to mimic the word taxable. There's a difference between zakat and tax, of course. Tax is paid on income. Zakat is paid on savings. It's important. But we're using this word zakatable just because we can draw a parallel between giving a portion of our wealth or our income for a particular cause. But please don't confuse the idea of zakat with taxes, because tax is on income, zakat is on savings. What type of wealth do you pay zakat on? In other words, what type of wealth is zakatable? Well, number one, you have to have complete ownership and accessibility. This is very important. If you don't have complete ownership and accessibility, you're not required to pay zakat on that wealth. Okay. Number two, it meets the nisab. The nisab, as you may or may not know, nisab is the value, that's the minimum amount of value that you need to have throughout the year to pay zakat. If you don't have that much, wealth throughout the year, then zakat is not applicable to you. Okay, this is the idea of what is the nisab. Okay, now the nisab is classically calculated for different asset classes. In today's time, for us, we are going to take the value of the nisab of gold as our standard. There is a lot of discussions around this, but this is really, I think, a fair assessment of why we would take this as the nisab value. Okay, now, and that is 5,950 Canadian dollars, 85 grams of pure gold. As long as you have this much amount for the entire year between all of your savings and all your investments, then you are good then you are liable for zakat. If you don't have this much, you are exempt from zakat. Okay. passes 1 lunar year, meaning the amount of wealth you have, you've had that saving for a year, at least a lunar year. This is important. If you have spent the money before the lunar year has passed, then there is no zakat on it. Again, the idea being this zakat is on savings, not on income. All right. Here are the categories of wealth that zakat is paid on. This is very critical, right? If people were in the audience here, in the attendees, I would ask you, what type of assets do you pay zakat on? But for the sake of brevity, I'm gonna go and just tell you, which is there's 4 main categories of wealth that you pay zakat on. Cattle and livestock. Obviously, this is something that doesn't apply to most of us. But every different type of animal, there's a different type of zakat on it. Cows have separate type of zakat. Camels have a separate calculation of zakat, etc. But this is something that is very, very thoroughly discussed in the books of fiqh. It doesn't apply so much to us today. Next thing is crop yield, 5% or 10%. That's the amount of zakat you pay on crop yield, meaning if you're a farmer and you are farming and you have a crop, you irrigate your crops. If you irrigate your crops yourself, then the zakat you pay is 5%. If your crops are naturally irrigated, maybe like you have water that's coming from like a river or something, irrigating your crops naturally, then you pay 10% zakat. This is the zakat on crop yield. Again, I don't think this applies to many of us because I don't think many of us are farmers. The thing that applies to us a lot is cash, gold, and silver, and business commodities. Cash, gold, and silver is called al-athman, from the word thaman, something that has value. Cash has value, gold has value, silver has value. And number 4 is business commodities, urud al-tijara, assets or instruments that you are selling as part of your business. That is business commodities. Both of these, zakat on it is due at 2.5%. Okay, ربع العشر. That is the hadith of the Prophet that is in the books, that's in Sahih Bukhari and Muslim, that in في كل ربع العشر, for every 1 out of 40, right, 1 out of 40, 1/40th, there is zakat, right? So that is where you get 2.5%, and that is applicable for these 2 asset classes. Now, business commodities, there is some detail. You have your current assets and you have your fixed assets. Current assets are considered to be liquid and they're subject to zakat at 2.5%. Fixed assets are considered to be illiquid and they are exempt from zakat. A good example of this is maybe a bakery. If you think about a bakery, in the bakery you have your oven, you have your building, you have your bread, you have your materials that you make the bread from. Okay, in the analogy of the bakery, you don't pay zakat on the building, you don't pay zakat on the oven, but you pay zakat on the flour and the bread and the revenue from the bread that you have sold. Okay, the zakat is paid on the mawad, on the raw materials and products, not on the alat, not on the equipment that is used to create to produce business assets or to produce business commodities. Okay, this is a very key principle of a zakat. We have to understand that, and this is going to have some implications in the way we calculate zakat for business commodities. Okay, so this, folks, is the idea behind what zakat is due on. Zakat is not due on anything other than these things. Okay, any other type of precious metals, cars, etc., there is no zakat on it. Okay, there is no zakat on residential or investment property. They don't count. They are not zakatable assets. It's only these asset classes that you pay zakat on, right? Even like things like, say you have business, you don't pay zakat on your land that your business is on. You don't pay zakat on the fixed assets of your business. like the building, the oven, okay? But you pay zakat on the product that you have made and sold, okay? That is the idea behind zakat, okay? It's not applicable on residential investment property, precious metals, cars, etc., etc. Okay, people, that is that. We should pay zakat on investments because in zakat on investments is analogous to either cash or gold or business commodities. Investment instruments are one of these two things. You can think of them as cash, gold, or silver, or you can think of them as a business commodity. If you are maybe a swing trader, if you are a short-term investor, perhaps you think of your investments as cash, gold, and silver. You are going to buy and sell very quickly. But if you are a long-term investor, you're long on a stock, then you are probably you're thinking of your business, or you're thinking of your investment as a business commodity. You are invested in the company more fully, more thoroughly. Okay, so that's the idea behind how we understand modern day instruments. We put them in one of these two buckets, and then we pay zakat on it. And we ask ourselves some key questions. Is this investment fully accessible, partially accessible, or inaccessible? That's our first question to ask. Okay. And related to that question, you can make this like 1B. If this is 1A, this is 1B. Okay. Did you voluntarily contribute to that zakat investment? Okay. So let's look at an example. If you voluntarily contributed, if you did not voluntarily contribute to your investment and you cannot access your investment, then that money is not zakatable. And the best example of that is your pension, CPP, as an example. You did not volunteer to give that money and you don't have any access to it right now, all right? And you only get access to it once you have retired and reached a certain age. Thus, that investment is not zakatable, all right? Because you don't have access, inaccessible, and also you did not contribute to it voluntarily, all right? What if you contributed to it voluntarily and you have full access to the investment, all right? If that is the case, then the entire amount is zakatable. You give the zakat on the entire amount. And the best example of that is a TFSA. A TFSA it's called a tax-free savings account. That is you can think of it like a bucket, okay? And you can have this bucket in any institution or multiple institutions, okay? This bucket, the money you put in it, you are not taxed on any of the growth of this money, and whatever you put was already after tax, then you put it in this bucket. Now, this account, the TFSA account, is fully accessible. You can access it at any point, okay? And you are voluntarily contributing to it. This is not the government taking something. This is not your employer matching this. It's not that you are kind of coerced into doing this. It's just only you doing it purely by yourself. That, folks, is fully zakatable. The entire amount in your tax-free savings account is subject to zakat, okay? Irrespective of how you view it, okay? Because the idea here is accessibility and voluntary contribution. Now, we would ask ourselves, are you looking at this investment as cash, or are you looking at it as a business commodity? You can ask that question later, and you can determine how much of your stocks, for example, are how much zakat you pay on your stocks, okay? But you pay it on the entire amount of your TFSA, and that is because it is fully accessible and you voluntarily contributed to it. Okay, if you voluntarily contributed, but you can access the investment partially, then the zakat, the portion that can be collected after subtracting taxes and penalty, is zakatable. The best example of that is a self-directed Rrsp, okay? A self-directed Rrsp is a retirement account. It's an account that you put money in when you are in your as part of you saving up for your retirement, okay? But it's self-directed. You do it voluntarily. You don't do it with your employer's help. You do it yourself. However, when you go to take money out of it, there is some tax implications. That money is added to your income, and thus you are paying taxes on that money that's added to your income. In fact, they will take a withholding tax when you try to withdraw from it. Okay, this is how RSPs work. When you put money in it, you save taxes. When you take money out, you pay taxes. All right, when that is the case, it is partially accessible, but you paid into it voluntarily. All right, in that case, zakat is due on the amount that you can access, meaning you subtract your taxes, subtract your penalties, if there are to be any, and that amount that you would get at the end of the day, that is what you would pay zakat on. All right, that is your thing. Now the final category is, what if, and this is the most interesting one, what if you voluntarily contributed, but you cannot access the investments? What happens then? And there are some details to explore here. The best example of this is the RESP, or a group RRSP. A group RRSP is something that your employer is contributing to along with yourself. You will not be able to withdraw money from it until you have left your employment. RESP, you are contributing it as an education fund for your kids. However, you are not able to withdraw money from it. Your kids will be able to withdraw money from it when they reach the age of going to college and university, and when they start going to college and university. However, with both of these account contributions, when you get to a certain point, you may be able to get your money. For example, RESP, if your kids don't go to school, you will be able to get your contributions and the capital gains back, and they will tax you on the capital gains. All right, but you can access it at that point in life. Not right now though. Group RSPs, you can access it when you have left your work and moved on, but not right now. Both of these things you can't access, but it's your ownership. You voluntarily contributed to it, right? Is a difficult situation. Let's talk about what that is like. This is something that I would say requires you to find an analogous situation in Islamic law, right? Because these are new instruments. These are not something that that was commonly known before. These are new instruments, and for that we have to look for a precedence in Islam previously, and try to see if we can map it to what we are at. Okay, so in the case of our RESP and the RSP, the group RSP, okay, you contributed voluntarily, but the money is inaccessible. What do you do? Well, it's analogous to something that's called malul damar. Al-damar in Arabic is it's the malul damar in Islamic fiqh is money that you own fully, but you are not unable to benefit from it. Okay, lam yakun al-intafa'u bihi. Okay, they give the example. They give a few examples to demonstrate this. They give the example of a runaway slave. Now, in Islam, back in the time, a slave would be considered your property. Okay, not that we're condoning, without commenting on the aspect of slavery or anything. We're just talking about the idea. It's a slave that someone that you benefit from, but he is not with you anymore. He's run away. Okay, so you can't benefit from it. What do you do? Okay, that's what they call malul damar. Another example is that it's money that you have buried, say, in the desert. You want to hide some money somewhere. You bury it in the desert, then you forgot where you buried it. You're a miskin. All right, now you're looking for it. You're digging around. What happens is the money is fully yours. It's your money. Voluntarily you contributed to it, but you can't access it right now for one reason or the other. That's what they would call malul damar. In my opinion, group RSPs and RESPs are quite similar to damar. You voluntarily contributed, but it's inaccessible right now. Unlike wealth that's buried in the sand, eventually you will be able to get to it. Okay, so in this there are three opinions of the scholars. So the Hanafi position is it's considered to be inaccessible. Okay, it's considered to be inaccessible, and if it is considered inaccessible, then there is no zakat on it until you can access it. All right, great. Alhamdulillah, that's a very easy opinion to take. The opposite opinion of it is the Shafi'i and the Hanbali opinion. That opinion is you calculate zakat every year on that money, but you don't pay that zakat until you have gotten the money. All right. So say your group Rrsp, you have contributed to it, and every year you're contributing to it. At the end, at every lunar year, you will calculate how much zakat is due on your group Rrsp, and you will make a note of that amount. Okay. And then when, say, you leave work, say 10 years later, and now the group Rrsp is transferred to you, now the money is accessible, now minus all the taxes and withholding penalties, you pay that entire zakat amount that you had calculated year after year after year. That would be the position of the Shafi'i and the Hanbali schools. That will be their position. The position of the Maliki school is somewhere in the middle, which is it cannot be accessed today. So pay zakat on it only once when you have accessed it. So if you look at the Maliki position, the position would be, okay, your group Rrsp, you contribute every year, but it's inaccessible to you, don't pay zakat on it just yet. But the moment you switch jobs and you get your entire Rrsp contributions and the employer's matching contributions transferred to you, that is the moment, and that is the time where you pay zakat on it once for the value of that investment account minus the fees and withholding tax, and that would be your zakat. Walhamdulillah. So this is alhamdulillah, I think, a good analogous situation when it comes to our different types of asset or different types of investment accounts. Okay, we look at and we consider the question, right? Did you voluntarily contribute or not? That's our first the first question is, excuse me, is the amount accessible fully, partially, or inaccessible? And number two is, did you voluntarily contribute to it? And based on that, we're able to figure out which type of zakat, which type of investment account do we pay zakat on? CPP or pensions, no zakat. TFSAs, fully you give zakat. Self-directed RSPs, you give zakat on the portion you can access. Rrsp, group RSPs, there's those three opinions that I shared with you, and the opinion that I gravitate towards is the opinion of the Maliki scholars, which is the moment you access it is the moment you pay zakat on it, but until you access it, you don't pay zakat on it. Or until you can access it, you don't pay zakat on it. All right. So that, folks, is how we look at the investment accounts. Walhamdulillah. There is a note to make about the simplest way to pay zakat on your investments. The simplest way is just to take the face value of your entire portfolio and just give zakat. And this is out of ihsan, and mashallah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will accept from you, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless you. That is a possibility. That's the simplest way of doing so. But if you want to go more calculated, you look at your investment type, and accordingly you pay zakat on that investment type. You would pay zakat on all of these. You would pay zakat on stocks. Okay, you will pay zakat on ETFs and mutual funds. Bonds are impermissible, but if you have an Islamic bond like a sukuk, you will pay zakat on that as well. Property, there's no zakat on property. Investment or residential, no zakat on that property. You will not do that. You will be able to live in it or rent it out, but once you have attained the rental income from the property, that's when you pay zakat on that. Precious metals, there's no zakat on any precious metal except gold and silver. And gold and silver, zakat is due on them. You calculate it yearly and you pay it yearly. The Hanafi position is you pay zakat on all gold and silver. The Shafi'i and Maliki and Hanbali position is you only pay zakat on gold and silver that is for investment purposes. The gold and silver that's worn regularly, there is no zakat on it. Last type of investment that I'm going to cover is crypto and non-fungible tokens, NFTs. Cryptocurrencies, you treat it like cash and you pay zakat on it. Non-fungible tokens, I would say you treat them also like gold and silver because you're collecting them for the purposes of their value increasing, and that is how you do that. We talked about investment accounts. I will recap this again. Pension, no zakat. Retirement funds, partial zakat on this. Zakat on this when you're able to access it. Zakat on this when you're able to access Rsps. Tfsas, fully zakatable. Wallahu a'lam. So that is how we break it down. Walillahi alhamd. Let's do some questions and answers about investment accounts or any other zakat questions that we may have, inshallah. Sister, are you there? Sister Luma?
Yes, so someone asked, I have my own business. How do I pay zakat on it?
We talked about the business, the current assets or the short-term assets on the business is what you pay zakat on, right? You don't pay assets on the illiquid or the fixed assets, okay? So that is something, these are terms that you find in like in the financial statement of a business, right? Fixed assets and current assets, okay? So you're not supposed to pay zakat on fixed assets, you pay zakat on current assets. Generally people, when they run a business, they keep the business as a separate account. So what I would say to that person is consider your business as like a separate zakat account. Pay your zakat yourself, like do your own personal zakat calculations, and then do a separate calculation for your business, and you can pay zakat on your behalf of your business in that way, inshallah.
Someone also asked, I have debts, so how do I pay zakat?
You do not pay zakat on money that you owe, okay? On debt, that you don't pay zakat on that, because in essence, this money is someone else's money. So you would subtract the debt from your amount of money and amount of assets you have, and you will not pay zakat on that. There is some detail about long-term debts. Long-term debts like a mortgage or student loans, etc. Those, the entire amount is not subtracted. You take only the principal amount that you pay in the year. The principal that you pay in the year, only that is considered like a debt on you for the zakat year, right? So if someone is paying $1,000 a month for their student loans, but the principal of that is $300 or say $400, then the debt they have is 400 times 12, $4,800. Not the entire amount of their debt, not the interest amount of their debt either.
Someone also asked, do I pay if I get retirement funds?
What do they mean by they get retirement funds? Like, are they living off their retirement? Okay, let's assume they're saying they're living off their retirement. Okay, so whatever amount that you have withdrawn from your retirement funds, you pay zakat on it.
Do you have anything else to add? I don't see we have any more questions.
Okay, yeah, no, alhamdulillah, that's all the main topics I had for today. The investment accounts, the investment types, alhamdulillah, we covered them all. And what I'd like to mention to you all is this thing that I'll share with you. And if you can post this on your feeds, that'll be good, inshallah. Can you please do that? I'm gonna share this this thing with you here. I'm gonna post it on the TorontoMuslims.com feed, right? And I'll put it in the chat here for you, Sister Luma. Okay. If you can share this with the people, and I'll show what this is about. This is gonna help people a lot in calculating zakat. Okay, this is a zakat calculator for Canadians. Okay, when you go on this, you click on this link here, and it will download this Excel file. Now, when you open this Excel file, mashallah, this Excel file will do the job of calculating zakat for you. How so? Well, look at this. This is the thing that will open up. You have to enable editing, and you can put in all of the stuff that you have. You can put the gold that you have from jewelry, ounces, 1 ounce. The gold you have for investment, maybe I have 10 ounces of gold for investment. Gold from, maybe not 10, maybe I have 4 ounces. Silver from jewelry, 1 ounce. Silver for investment, maybe I have 10 ounces. Okay, and it will tally your amount, gold and silver. Cash at bank, I can add, $500 I have in the bank. Oh, it's giving me pounds for some reason. Hold on. Yes. Okay. Cash at hand, I have another $500. Okay. This should be dollars. I don't know what it's doing. All right. Value of TFSA accounts, you put that there. I have $40,000 in my TFSA. Okay, maybe cash at bank should be a bit more, maybe like $3,000, just to make things easy. Okay, RSPs, self-directed ones. Okay, let's put self-directed RSPs. Self-directed RSPs. This would be maybe let's put all RSPs, no problem. $30,000. Okay, great. It will calculate the withholding tax for you, and it will take that amount and remove it. In liquid investments, this is crypto, right? This could be crypto, for example. This is maybe I have $5,000 worth of crypto as an example. And then this is the money in my total assets. Then you can put in your monthly loans. Maybe I have $400 on my student loan, maybe another 500 or maybe another 1,000 on my mortgage. Okay, great. That's your mortgage long-term loans. All right, that's your liabilities. That's your assets. It will calculate for you your total net assets, the zakat that is due on that. Walhamdulillah. That is a good way of calculating, in my opinion, zakat. Inshallah, if people would like to use this, that will be fantastic. Please share this with the people. I think it will be useful for them.
Okay. Jazakallah khair, Imam Aarij, for educating all of us on the basics of zakat. And Jazakallah khair for all our attendees tuning in tonight. We will be hosting the last session of the Zakat Fiqh series next Saturday.
Oh, no, sorry. There isn't any more. This is the last one. Because all the questions we answer them right now. Okay. So,
if you are interested in donating to the Canada Zakat Initiative, please visit canadazakat.org and click the donate tab on the right-hand corner. All proceeds from this initiative will help those in need during this month of Ramadan. Please also like and follow Dawan's Facebook page to learn more about our future webinars and online programs. Jazakallah khair for attending. Assalamu alaikum.
wa alaikum salam.